Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Founders Grid, sponsored by Gaper.io. Today, we have Leandro Margulis from UnifyID. Leandro, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, give us a brief background about yourself before joining UnifyID.
Cool, happy to do so. Well, in case you're wondering where my name and accent is from, I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina, born and raised there. But I've been in the United States for the last 18 years and the last 10 in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, based out of San Francisco. I'm an industrial and systems engineer with a computer science background, a Yale MBA. I worked at Deloitte Consulting for a while before and after business school. And then I work in different startups and tech companies, including my own, in different stages of growth. And lately, I've been working on setting up small business units within larger companies. So through case of intrapreneurship, so entrepreneurship within a larger company. Uh, and lately, I actually joined UnifyID as their VP of Developer Relations, building the developer community around their passive, continuous, implicit authentication APIs.
Got it. So, since you've been working with multiple startups and startup founders, so my next question would be founders DNA is something I like to talk about. And do you see any common pattern between all of these great founders, or do you think one coast is better than the other?
One coast, in terms of the United States coast, you mean?
Yeah. So this is what it is.
It's not that one coast is. It's not that one coast is better than the other, and I can also talk a little bit about the global ecosystem. I have ties to entrepreneurship in Latin America and other emerging markets as well.
Got it.
Um, in a way, I do think that there's a lot of commonalities between the founders, and it's kind of funny. Everybody sees them as risk takers, and I agree with that. But they're usually very good at calculating risk, and they just see risk sometimes a little bit differently. Um, um, but yeah, there's a lot of commonalities in terms of being able to see trends and look at opportunities in different ways than others. Where other people see challenges, entrepreneurs see opportunities. In terms of one coast different than the other, on one place different than the other, I do see some, once again, some commonalities and some differences. I do still believe that the West Coast tends to be a little bit more entrepreneur friendly. That said, there's a lot of places that are becoming more entrepreneur friendly as well. I do believe that if you're looking in terms of funding, usually the funding rounds from the West Coast, Bay Area, Silicon Valley the terms tend to be more favorable towards the entrepreneur, and the raises in terms of the amount of money tends to be higher than if you look at the East Coast or Europe or Latin America. That could be good or could not be good. I mean, there is such a thing as raising too much money, and then people lose discipline and focus. So I do feel like sometimes some of the companies coming from other places have the advantage of frugality and discipline that sometimes you don't see in other startups. So every place has its pros and cons, and I think and it's also, even if you end up coming to the West Coast, it's always good to have uh, investors and your community where your company is coming from to be behind you, right? I mean, a lot of people when they're looking to get a series A or Series B or Series C in the Bay Area, they come with angel investors or seed or Series A investors from wherever the company is coming from, and then sometimes, if you come from certain markets in Europe or certain markets in Latin America, the US ends up being a larger market. So eventually they want to move to the US. And if you're going to move to the US, the Bay Area seems to be a good place to be in terms of the ecosystem that you have. Um, uh, but it's always good to have the support from your local place of origin.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. Interesting. Unfortunate times because of COVID, and many businesses have felt the heat while it's acting as a catalyst for the others. So how do you see the world evolving post-COVID? Which industries do you see picking up compared to the others?
Well, I think that COVID is going to come and go. It may take whatever time it takes until we get the right treatments and the vaccine, but a lot of the practice and habits that we're building through COVID are going to stay. Um, a lot of companies are suffering, and a lot of companies are thriving. I mean, Zoom. We're having this conversation over Zoom. Zoom is thriving, right? So, and I think a lot of the of working remotely and working from home is going to be even more accepted than it was before, and that will have a big impact in a lot of different industries, from real estate industry to retail industry to what locations are more coveted, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's some jobs that require you to physically be in the Bay Area. There's some other ones that you do not have necessarily to be here, and you can work from anywhere. Or you may go to the office 2 to 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week. So I think a lot of the habits, as I said, that we're building during COVID are here to stay. And I think that technology has made this easier. Of course, it always there's always issues, but I think like we couldn't have gone through this pandemic the way we're going if it wasn't for broadband, right?
Correct. Interesting. So true. So true. I'm just pausing my video because I'm getting some latency. I just don't want any disruption happening in mid of the way. Technology.
Well, I mean, broadband is better, but sometimes it's not the best. Yeah. But
So, uh, what advice are you giving to young startup founders who are looking to start in the middle of the pandemic? Because we've been hearing multiple stories that the VC funding is going to dry down, investors are rethinking their term sheets and everything. The startups are being forced to increase their runways. What advice would you be giving to young founders? Should they go? Because the college is also a confusion these days and everything. So what advice would you give to someone?
well, depending on what stage you are, but a couple comments here. There's a a lot of the great companies have been founded in difficult times. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities, and this time should give us some time to do some introspection and looking at different opportunities around us, right? Because sometimes we're always like running. Right now we have a time to like look to each side and see the trends around us, and we may be able to identify new opportunities that we haven't thought of before. So uh, this is as good a time as any, if not better in some sense, to start a new venture. If you were already working on different things, I hope you were able to take certain measures to conserve your cash during the last 4 to 6 months, uh, and kind of brace for impact. If you were able to raise money, that you raise enough so you can last. And if you're earlier stage, I think it's a great time to actually people have more time to give you. So if you um, like, basically you may have a great idea, but you need to validate it, and you need to iterate on it, and you need to refine it. So this may be the right time to reach out to people to refine your idea, get the feedback that you need, and make the connections that sometimes people are too busy to talk right now. Everybody has more time because they're not wasting time in their commutes, and they may be more flexible to take a meeting. So I encourage you to, if you're an early stage founder with an idea, to hone in on that idea, iterate, refine it, and look at people that can help you move it forward.
Got it. Got it. Last question, primarily around how to manage remote teams, sales, mental health, collaboration, creativity. Any tips around that?
So the reality is, even before COVID, we have global teams that are working. Like I'm used to working with teams in Europe, Latin America, the US, and we need to find ways to make the conversations work, and kind of in a different way, and not get anxiety when you wake up in the morning and you have like 8 to 9 hour difference with the place, and then your email is swamped and you just need to go through email. So I think like collaboration tools like Slack and Microsoft Teams have really helped us in terms of having deferred conversations on specific topics and setting up the channels the right way. I think that has been super helpful and has honestly reduced a ton of the emails back and forth. So I think that actually helps. I do think that we need to build a sense of community and cadence and around topics, and give the chance for people to shine. So in that sense, uh, I think that we need to have the proper like what I what I built is circles of topics. I mean, sometimes you need very small teams to be able to talk about specific topics and make decisions. But then when you need everybody to be in sync and aligned, you need periodic meetings, if it's monthly or quarterly, with a bigger team, and give the chance for people to shine. And in terms of working remotely, I think like right now, it doesn't matter if somebody is 2 blocks away or 2,000 miles away. Um, we still need to do the same things, right? So I think it's a great opportunity to elevate people to work remotely from different places and be able to deliver and see less difference between somebody locally or remotely.
Got it. Got it. So, Leandro, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sorry we could have spoken for at least half an hour, but my team tells me I have to keep it within 9 minutes. So I'm sorry about that. But thank you so much for being on the show, and take care of yourself and stay safe.
Thank you so much.